Weather on the Ones, every 10 minutes. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
A young boy is dead and a young girl remains in critical condition this afternoon after falling through the ice in Washington Park. Here's a look at your Spectrum News in 90. Albany Police Chief Brendan Cox says it happened yesterday afternoon. Through investigation, police say a 12-year-old boy attempted to walk across the lake towards the lake house and fell through the ice. It's then believed that an 11-year-old girl saw the boy fall through and in an attempt to help also fell through the ice. Both children are students of the Albany City School District, and notifications have been made to school officials. The names of the victims will not be released due to their age. Meanwhile, major snow hitting the capital region overnight. Officials say light snow in some areas could lead to slippery travel conditions. You're advised to slow down and use caution while traveling. Officials also reminding drivers to leave more distance between your vehicle and the vehicle ahead. And the Guilderland Central School District will be hosting a panel discussion on distraction-free school environments tomorrow. They say this will be an information gathering session for the school's community and will help them inform people about the cell phone-free policy the Board of Education is considering. The discussion will be held in the large group instruction room at the high school starting at 7 p.m. Now let's get to your Weather on the One's forecast for today.
Your forecast this afternoon, a lot of clouds, remaining dry, a little bit breezy for some, especially to the west of the Hudson Valley. Temperatures topping out into the 40s, so milder than what we have been seeing. For tonight, partly to mostly cloudy, lows in the upper 20s and lower 30s. And then heading into Monday, we'll see rain. That'll come on in late in the morning through the midday hours. Maybe a rain-snow mix, including some sleet and freezing rain for higher elevations, with highs in the 30s and lower 40s.
Welcome back to your weekend on Spectrum News 1. Let's get a check of what's making headlines this weekend. South Korea's former defense minister has been detained as prosecutors investigate the president's short-lived effort to impose martial law in the country. Kim Young-hyun allegedly recommended martial law to President Yoon. He becomes the first person to be detained in the case. Meanwhile, the president survived an opposition-led effort to impeach him this weekend, with most ruling party lawmakers boycotting a floor vote. Public protests have grown as a result. And Crime Stoppers has released new photos of the person of interest in the fatal shooting of a healthcare CEO last week. The FBI is now offering up to $50,000 for information that leads to an arrest. Police say United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was ambushed and shot multiple times outside a Manhattan hotel Wednesday. Bullet casings had the words delay, deny, and depose written on them, leading police to believe this was a premeditated attack. They believe the gunman left New York City by bus. A new law has gone into effect in New York to support workers facing post-traumatic stress. Governor Hochul signed the legislation Friday. It allows any New Yorker to apply for workers' compensation as a result of extraordinary work-related stress. Previously, only certain first responders were eligible for these benefits. The governor says it's part of her $1 billion commitment to expand mental health access for New Yorkers. A Western New York county now joins several others across 32 states equipped to respond to grain bin rescues on area farms. Mark Goshgarian tells us about the life-saving equipment designed to combat life-threatening situations.
Crews installing a new grain bin. The 10th standing tall on the Lesh Farm in Chautauqua County. Many able to hold tens of thousands of bushels of grain, generated from more than 2,200 acres of row crops.
The grain can be very dangerous. It doesn't look like it, but when they're full of grain, there's a lot of outward pressure on this metal as well as inward pressure on the grain itself.
Which is why it's important for farmers to stay out of the bins when they're full, as they can collect moisture and provide a false floor.
And if you step on it, you will fall into the grain. If you were to get stuck in the bin, you would not be able to move. That is what the rescue equipment is handy for.
Now in the hands of trained county rescue teams, the equipment is made up of metal panels designed to form a protective wall around whoever's trapped in the bin, together with what's called an auger to remove the grain and set the person free. There have been multiple grain bin fatalities across the state over the last several years.
It just doesn't affect one farmer, it affects the whole community of small towns. It's something that I think is very needed to help the farmers out. It's something that usually don't have.
Funding made possible through a grant from Nationwide Insurance and the local Farm Bureau to help respond to an accident.
You always want to be prepared to deal with it, and having the equipment now is just for exactly that, rescue purposes. We don't want to have a situation that's going to be a recovery.
Neither does Jacob, who says he's equally thankful for the life-saving equipment he hopes will never have to be used.
It's kind of a peace of mind. I mean, if something were to go wrong and probably save our life.
Mark Gashgarian, Spectrum News.
Thanks, Mark. Nationally, there were 24 fatalities in 83 grain bin related incidents in 2022. That's an increase of almost 41% from 2021. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, Congress is deadlocked over enacting a new farm bill after the last one expired more than a year ago. Unable to agree on a new one, Congress passed a one-year extension last year and are expected to do so again. The legislation provides financial assistance to farmers and helps working-class Americans put food on the table through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. Congress is at odds because Republicans want to cut increases to SNAP in order to boost support for farmers. Democrats oppose making that concession.
Extending the 2018 version, while not ideal, at least gives our farmers some certainty for the next planting season, because a lot of those decisions are being made right now.
Lawmakers are expected to make the extension ahead of the holiday break. Christmas toy drives around the state are working to get gifts in the hands of children this holiday season. A local business I visited is making an effort to add more diversity to toy donations this year. These are just some of the toys kids will get a chance to open for Christmas.
She looked just like me. Like, I like poofy hair.
It's thanks to the women of the Anwanze Association and the Mind, Body, and Soul Studio.
I looked around my house and I knew I had some dolls and I knew they had to be of color, and I wanted to donate them to her.
They've been doing a brown toy and action figure drive in an effort to receive and donate items that represents diverse backgrounds.
We see all shapes, sizes, colors, diversity exists here. So there's no reason why we should not represent that in the toys that we're offering for the holidays.
They collect the toys and dolls here at the Wellness Studio, which then will be added to a Toys for Tots giveaway.
You should see the face of the children when they see these little black toys. That face means everything.
They're just hoping to put smiles on the faces of kids everywhere this holiday season. And they'll be accepting donations of new brown dolls and toys unwrapped through the 14th of December. And they'll be doing the big giveaway with Santa on the 15th. Visit FatimaMindBodySoul.com for more information. Democrats on Capitol Hill are looking ahead to the new year and some of their new roles. How 3 lawmakers are hoping to make a difference just ahead on your weekend.
Our goal at Spectrum News 1 is to go find those stories that matter to our community. People who are your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, and we share those stories.
We continue to make sure that we're accurate so that you get the right information at the right time to figure out your day.
That includes your local forecast with Weather on the Ones.
Join us for your morning on Spectrum News 1, weekdays starting at 6 a.m.
Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
Wait! Not in the toilet!
No, don't do that.
No! Don't hit your brother! Oh!
Not again!
What did I tell you about playing in the mud?
Rafi, not so close to the pool! Wait! Tabby, what are you doing? We told you never to touch the gun!
I'm sorry, I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
You could have hurt yourself!
Safely store your guns, unload, lock, and away from ammo.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
I'm here in Lake George, where the community is gathered.
And Russia. But over the last week, their support collapsed, all three of them. Because all three of them are far weaker today than they were when I took office. And let's remember why. After Hamas attacked Israel on October the 7th, 2023, when much of the world responded with horror, Iran and its proxies chose to launch a multi-front war against Israel. That was a historic mistake on Iran's part. Today, Iran's main territorial proxy, Hezbollah, is also on its back. Only 12 days ago, I spoke from the Rose Garden about the ceasefire deal in Lebanon, a deal that was only possible because Hezbollah has been badly degraded. Meanwhile, Hamas has been badly degraded as well. Iran's own military capabilities have been weakened. Iran tried 2 times to attack Israel, and the United States and built a coalition of countries to directly defend Israel and help defeat those attacks. All this made possible for Iran and Hezbollah to continue to prop up, impossible, I should say, for them to prop up the Assad regime. Additionally, Russia's support for Assad also failed. And that's because Ukraine, backed by our American allies, has put up a wall of resistance against the invading Russian forces, inflicting massive damage on the Russian forces. And that has left Russia unable to protect its main ally in the Middle East. Excuse my cold. The upshot for all this is, for the first time ever, neither Russia nor Iran nor Hezbollah could defend this abhorrent regime in Syria. And this is a direct result of the blows that Ukraine, Israel, have delivered upon their own self-defense with unflagging support of the United States. You know, over the past 4 years, my administration pursued a clear and principled policy towards Syria. First, we made clear from the start sanctions on Assad would remain in place unless he engaged seriously in a political process to end the civil war, as outlined by the UN Security Council resolution passed in 2015. But Assad refused, so we carried out a comprehensive sanction program against him and all those responsible for atrocities against the Syrian people. Second, we maintained our military presence in Syria, our counter-ISIS, to counter the support of local partners as well on the ground, their partners, never ceding an inch of territory, taking out leaders of ISIS, ensuring that ISIS can never establish a safe haven there again. Third, we've supported Israel's freedom of action against Iranian networks in Syria and against actors aligned with Iran who transported lethal aid to Lebanon. And when necessary, ordered the use of military force against Iranian networks to protect U.S. forces. Our approach has shifted the balance of power in the Middle East. Through this combination of support for our partners, sanctions, and diplomacy, and targeted military force when necessary, we now see new opportunities opening up for the people of Syria and for the entire region. Looking ahead, the United States will do the following. First, will support Syria's neighbors, including Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, and Israel, should any threat arise from Syria during this period of transition. I will speak with leaders of the region in the coming days. I had long discussions with all of our people earlier this morning. And I'll send senior officials from my administration to the region as well. Second, we will help ensure stability in eastern Syria, protecting any personnel, our personnel, against any threats, and remain our mission against ISIS will be maintained, including the security of detention facilities where ISIS fighters are being held as prisoners. We're clear-eyed about the fact that ISIS will try to take advantage of any vacuum to reestablish its capabilities and to create a safe haven. We will not let that happen. In fact, just today, U.S. forces conducted dozens of precision strikes, airstrikes, within Syria, targeting ISIS camps and ISIS operatives. Third, we will engage with all Syrian groups, including within the process led by the United Nations, to establish a transition away from the Assad regime toward independent, sovereign, independent, I want to say it again, sovereign Syria, with a new constitution, a new government that serves all Syrians. And this process will be determined by the Syrian people themselves. And the United States will do whatever we can to support them, including through humanitarian relief to help restore Syria after more than a decade of war and generations of brutality by the Assad family. And finally, we will remain vigilant. Make no mistake, some of the rebel groups that took down Assad have their own grim record of terrorism and human rights abuses. We've taken note of statements by the leaders of these rebel groups in recent days, and they're saying the right things now. But as they take on greater responsibility, we will assess not just their words, but their actions. And we are mindful that there are Americans in Syria, including those who reside there, as well as Austin Tice, who was taken captive more than 12 years ago. We remain committed to returning him to his family. As I've said, this is a moment of considerable risk and uncertainty, but I also believe this is the best opportunity in generations for Syrians to forge their own future, free of opposition. It's also an opportunity through far from certain, for a more secure and prosperous Middle East, where our friends are safe, where enemies are contained. And it would be a waste of this historic opportunity if one tyrant were toppled and only to see a new one rise up in its place. So it's now incumbent upon all the opposition groups to seek a role in governing Syria, to demonstrate their commitment to the rights of all Syrians, the rule of law, and the protection of religious and ethnic minorities. These past few days have been historic. And it's in the days ahead that will determine the future of this country. And we intend to approach them with strength, wisdom, and resolve. So thank you very much. God bless America, and God protect our troops. Thank you.
What should happen to Assad now, Mr. President?
Mr. President,
what does the U.S. know
about Warren released?
What does the U.S. know about where Austin Tice might be and if he's safe?
We believe he's alive. We think we can get him back, but we have no direct evidence of that yet. And Assad should be held accountable.
Have you directed an operation to go get him, Mr. President?
Is Assad in Moscow?
Get who?
Austin Tice.
We won't want to get him out.
Yes, sir.
We have to identify where he is. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, you just heard President Joe Biden there speaking on the situation in Syria, weighing in on the fall of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, the development putting the future of the region now in the balance. And, but President Biden, we heard there calling this a moment of historic opportunity. I want to bring in our Daniel Grimes joining us from Washington to talk through all of this. Daniel, you heard President Biden speak there. What stuck out for you?
I honestly think the biggest difference is that just the difference between President Joe Biden and President-elect Donald Trump. Now, yesterday, President-elect Donald Trump posted on social media he's in Paris for the opening of Notre Dame, and he posted on social media that this is not our fight. We need to stay out of it and really just let things happen as they may, where you just heard President Joe Biden say, listen, we're going to be involved through humanitarian efforts, and we're also going to continue the fight against ISIS. We don't want ISIS or Al-Qaeda or any other terrorist group to come into this vacuum and really take this opportunity to rise to power again. And no one is sad. Well, I should say maybe a few Syrians are sad about the fall of Bashar al-Assad. He was a ruthless dictator. And so I think many Syrians are celebrating this right now. But, we don't want, and the president said, we don't want a terrorist group or even a more ruthless dictator to come in that vacuum. And so he kind of said, we're going to work with the Syrians to establish a constitution to make sure that Syrians have rights and that it's a government, an independent state that works for all of Syrians. And so you really heard President Biden say that the U.S. is going to be an ally, not only to the people of Syria, but also to the neighbors there. He spoke about, making sure that all of the neighbors, Lebanon and Israel and all of the surrounding neighbors to Syria are also protected, and just making sure that any threat that may come from this is really halted before it could even begin, Lori.
Now, Daniel, this comes after that surprise offensive by rebel forces. Can you quickly just weigh in on what we know about the whereabouts of Bashar al-Assad right now?
Yeah, so we're seeing reports that he actually fled to Russia. I haven't independently confirmed that, but we see those reports there. So we believe he's not there in the country, and I think that was what created the vacuum for the people to be able to take their country back.
Okay, Daniel Grimes in Washington, thank you for weighing in on that. That's the very latest on the Breaking News Report. We'll bring you now to more news of the day.
Hey everyone, Spectrum News. We're always Greg Paul here with a look at your forecast for the Capital Region as well as the Hudson Valley. Through the afternoon today, we'll see a lot of clouds remaining dry. Highs today into the upper 30s and lower 40s. Milder than what we have been seeing, maybe a little bit breezy at times. Through tonight, a lot of clouds still, at least early on, maybe some clearing for some. So partly to mostly cloudy skies overnight. Early in the morning on Monday, we are going to start out the day dry. 7 a.m. Temperatures into the upper 20s and lower 30s. And then late in the morning, we'll start to see some more precipitation come on in. Now, at the onset, it will be cold enough at the surface for a little bit of wintry mix, including some sleet and freezing rain. Mostly for higher elevations, valleys as well, maybe a brief period of some sleet and freezing rain, but temperatures quickly rise. So in and around Albany, maybe up to an hour of sleet and freezing rain at most, and then a transition over to rain here by the afternoon, through the early evening. Could see an extended period of some sleet, freezing rain, even some snow from around Amsterdam over towards Glens Falls, northern Berkshires, Green Mountains, Adirondacks, seeing the chance for a little bit of wintry mix. But that rain and precipitation done with early in the evening. Everything moves away Monday night, and then through the day on Tuesday, a lot of clouds, temperatures into the 40s for most areas. And then heading into Tuesday night, more showers in store. So another storm system comes on in. Here's a look at the 8 to 14-day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center from December 15th through the 21st. Above normal temperatures all across the Northeast. So a December thaw coming. Temperatures well into the 40s. Some areas actually seeing some 50s during this time. Here's your forecast. So for today, mostly cloudy skies, highs in the 40s, a little bit of a wind out of the south and west. For tonight, partly to mostly cloudy with lows in the 20s and lower 30s. Here's a look at the next 7 days. So for Monday, 39, we'll have the good chance for some widespread rain. A few showers late in the day Tuesday, 51 with rain on Wednesday, and then colder by the end of the week through next weekend. For the Hudson Valley, we'll see temperatures at around 42 on Monday with rain, could be heavy. A few showers Tuesday, especially late. 56, mild with rain Wednesday, and then colder by the end of the week.
Post-traumatic stress. Governor Hochul signed the legislation Friday. It allows any New Yorker to apply for workers' compensation as a result of extraordinary work-related stress. Previously, only certain first responders were eligible for these benefits. The governor says it's part of her $1 billion commitment to expand mental health access for New Yorkers. A Western New York county now joins several others across 32 states equipped to respond to grain bin rescues on area farms. Mark Goshgarian tells us about the life-saving equipment designed to combat life-threatening situations.
crews installing a new grain bin. The 10th standing tall on the Lesh Farm in Chautauqua County, many able to hold tens of thousands of bushels of grain, generated from more than 2,200 acres of row crops.
The grain can be very dangerous. It doesn't look like it, but when they're full of grain, there is a lot of outward pressure on this metal as well as inward pressure on the grain itself.
Which is why it's important for farmers to stay out of the bins when they're full, as they can collect moisture and provide a false floor.
And if you step on it, you will fall into the grain. If you were to get stuck in the bin, you would not be able to move. That is what the rescue equipment is handy for.
Now in the hands of trained county rescue teams, the equipment is made up of metal panels designed to form a protective wall around whoever's trapped in the bin, together with what's called an auger to remove the grain and set the person free. There have been multiple grain bin fatalities across the state over the last several years.
It just doesn't affect one farmer, it affects the whole community of small towns. It's something that I think is very needed to help the farmers out. It's something that usually don't have.
Funding made possible through a grant from Nationwide Insurance and the local Farm Bureau to help respond to an accident.
You always want to be prepared to deal with it, and having the equipment now is just for exactly that, rescue purposes. We don't want to have a situation that's going to be a recovery.
Neither does Jacob, who says he's equally thankful for the life-saving equipment he hopes will never have to be used.
It's kind of a peace of mind. I mean, if something were to go wrong and probably save our life.
Mark Gashgarian, Spectrum News.
Thanks, Mark. Nationally, there were 24 fatalities in 83 grain bin-related incidents in 2022. That's an increase of almost 41% from 2021.
Time now for a look at what's happening in our community. Presented by Williams Lumber and Home Centers.